Yeah.
Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Running in Circles podcast. In today's episode, we talk about a unique experience of what it feels like to move abroad to another country. Joining me in this conversation is two of my friends who have studied abroad. Rashmi has studied from Dubai,
Hi, Pallav.
and Nikhil has studied from the States.
Hey, Pallav, it's good to be back.
Yeah, yeah. Moving abroad to another country is obviously a tough and a unique experience which you go through. So, to start off with, why did you move to another country apart from having the funds for your education? And what did you feel like on your first flight away from home? Starting with you, Rashmi.
So, yeah, basically, like why everyone chooses to go abroad is to have a better education. And that's also the main reason why I chose to go abroad as well. But this decision was also like I took a lot of thought into this decision because it's not just about the money that you're investing into the education, but also like what experiences I will have going into this new country, because it's like I'm moving into a completely new location and I have to stay alone and be in the dorms. So it's like a lot of thought that goes into moving abroad. It's not just about the education that you're going to receive in the future. And so, yeah, the first flight to Dubai, where I'm studying right now, was a very different one than any of the flights that I've taken in my life before, because it's a very life changing one. That's when I realized, it sunk in that that's the last time probably I'll ever be home. I'm going to be calling a new country my home from now onward. So it's a pretty new feeling, pretty good feeling, excited, but also sad to leave my friends and my country behind. Because as you know, we all studied together. Since we were in KG probably, and it was a bittersweet feeling to on the flight. So yeah, that was my experience.
Yeah. What about you, Nikhil? How did you feel, and like why did you choose USA in particular?
For me, I think the decision was sort of it happened really quickly. So I didn't think I would even attempt, to get admission to a university abroad. I think the first time we thought about it was halfway through 12th grade.
I think in
And
December, somewhere around December, right, when we were in Fiji.
I think I took the SAT uh, in November. Yeah, in November, because it was for the UCs. It was due in December. So yeah, it was like, and I took it only once, and I actually applied for it. I think about in October or September. So it's like it all happened really quickly. And in that time period, we had our board exams. We had the entrance exams for. I didn't put all my eggs into one basket. So I obviously I'd worked on the entrance exams, JE and whatnot. So it's like it was a busy time, so I didn't really have that time to think about what a decision like that would mean to me. But it was a tough one, and I think I sort of left it up to my parents, because at the end of the day, it's it's them who's making that big of an investment for me. And
Absolutely.
yeah, so I was okay with whatever they decided. And they wanted what's best for me, obviously. So and when they were confident about it, I just thought, what the hell, you only live once, right? I wasn't too worried, because one of the reasons why I picked UC Santa Cruz was because we had previously lived in the Bay Area for a couple years. So I was young, yes, but my dad had a bunch of friends, my cousins also in the area, so I had family, and I was familiar with the area. So it was slightly easier to decide. In terms of I guess first flight or whatever, my dad was with me, so it didn't feel like I was leaving everything behind, because at least I had my dad with me. And he helped me set up everything in my
In
university.
your first few days.
Yeah, exactly. And so yeah, we went around. We sort of checked the place out. We also um did like a little bit of sightseeing, I guess. But yeah, that first week again, it was all everything happened so quickly, so I didn't really have a lot of time to reminisce or think about the sort of gravity of the situation.
Yeah. Yeah. So moving on, how exactly did you guys fit in to the new society and like bridge the cultural barrier between like as Indians or as your other country? With you, starting with you, Rashmi.
So I did not face that much of a problem because most of the people here are Indians, as you know. Like, you land into a country, it's like second India, basically. So there's less Emiratis who live here than there are Indians. So the immigrant population is quite high. So I didn't feel that cultural barrier at first because even the first friend that I made here was Indian. So it was quite easy to make friends in that way, you can say. And also, when I went to a dorm at first. So then, when I stayed in the dorms, it's like most of the people who stay in the dorms are from coming from abroad as well. So we're all in. It's like we're all sailing on the same boat. So then, it was quite easy to make friends. There was no cultural barriers as such, and then after that, when I started going to university, having the orientation and everything, that's when I started meeting people from other cultures and other places and everything. So then one of my best friends also, who she was Iranian, and the biggest problem that they had was pronouncing my name. So they used to say all sorts of like, Rashmi, and they used to say Reshmi or like some weird pronunciations. They never got my name right.
It's actually
So
pronounced Reshmi, by the way.
yes, as Nikhil would so nicely put it. And yeah, so that was one of the biggest things that I faced. I think my name, the pronunciation of my name, and also getting to know new cultures. Like I didn't really understand the whole Friday and Saturday weekend thing. It was quite difficult to get used to because we're always so used to having like Sunday is a holiday, and on the
Yeah.
first week I was like, I schedule my classes in a way that I don't have any classes on a Sunday, so I don't miss a class on a Sunday thinking it's a holiday. So that was another thing. And yeah, it was quite weird to get used to this kind of culture over here. People are quite religious, as you could say. There are so many things that you can and cannot do, have to be careful about what you're going to say. You can't, it's not like India, you can't just go and announcing stuff right, left, right, and center. You have to be very curious, I mean, cautious about what you're saying.
I'm just curious, what do you go around announcing in
Yeah,
India?
left,
Is
right,
what's
and
the
center. Yeah.
That's the thing is like, so that's what I didn't realize. So what you're not supposed to say, apparently, you can't say profanities out loud here in Dubai. So you can get arrested for saying profanities out loud, like shouting at people. You
Yeah,
can
I
get,
guess that's worse than getting hit by your parents or something,
yeah.
which is
So
what would happen if you do it in India.
and you can't say anything against the government over here, anything about politics, nothing. It's actually quite, it's very, very offensive to do say something about the government or anything
Yeah, I think this
politically
thing is
related.
also there in UP. It's just unofficial, where you can't say
Yeah.
things against the government. But yeah, continue.
Hmm. And we don't have like free media. So whatever you see on the news, one of the biggest things is like in India you get to see everything that happens. Sometimes they even put the masala in the news and they send it here, but then here it's all like controlled news, controlled media. So even if an accident happens or like something happens in Dubai, it's rarely that you get to see it on the news. Like they portray what they want you to see, that's it. So it's quite different from what I was, I grew up with back in India. I was quite, like, you could say you had more freedom back in India than you have here. But yeah, of course, I mean, the life is much better over here. That's probably why most Indians move here, because it's like having your, Indian society with you, but like in a much better environment. That's all.
Yeah, like what do you think about fitting into a new society, Nikhil?
It's a lot easier than you think, and just because I think in the 21st century in India, there's a lot of Western influence, right? And this
Yeah,
Western
absolutely.
influence usually comes from pop culture, movies, TV shows, and stuff like that, all of which are Hollywood, so American. So it's not like it's a completely new experience. It's just it's different seeing it and being in it, right? Those are two different things.
Hmm.
uh, I think I didn't really find it too hard. um, I definitely didn't face most of the challenges Rashmi was talking about. uh, it's just for me it was more about people, right? It's not hard to fit in, but it's just the people, the culture, it's completely different, right? You Indian people, the friends we have in school, right? It those we relate to them on a different level.
Correct.
Americans are not really, at least initially, it's not really easy to relate with them just because they have had a much different
They've
childhood
been
than us.
brought up in a different way, unlike us, right?
Yeah, exactly. And some of the, like, th- the things we've experienced in our childhood is like not at all relatable to them, and vice versa.
Hmm.
So
Especially Cambridge memories. I don't think they can relate to that at all.
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
And yeah, so the thing is, I had the good fortune of having really good roommates my first year. I'm still friends with them today. um, and we just sort of me going along uh, to these different college events with them and meeting other new people. It's sort of just all happened together. um,
Hmm.
I think yeah, so for me at least the biggest challenge was socializing, just because it's a completely different um, environment. It's more open. There's really, you're not controlled at all. You're completely unhinged. And so there's good things and bad things that come with that. um,
Hmm. I agree.
yeah. So you can guess what the bad things are, but
Hmm.
um, overall I think it's a very eye-opening experience, just because you have to do everything on your own, you know from
Hmm.
the time you wake up in the morning to the
Yeah.
time you go back to bed. Like it's all on you.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
talking
Um,
about like not relating to experiences, like how people don't relate to our experiences, even here people in Dubai, when they talk about their school days, they talk about having a cricket ground or like a football stadium, about having their own swimming pool, gym class, and all we did in Cambridge was play cricket with a file and a paper ball. And you can't
yeah,
really go around saying that, to
yeah,
people
yeah.
that
That was our
that's what
lunch
we had.
break cricket field.
Yeah, and then you saying that probably that our ground was not ours as well. We have
No,
like stuff
we didn't
building
have a
around our
ground.
school building. No, we didn't. That's what.
Yeah, we just had sand.
We
We
just had
had
sand.
at least what we had was better than what they have right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, talking about myself, although I haven't moved abroad, but there were a few cultural things that even I experienced moving into Hyderabad. So starting with when you first go there, obviously your natural instinct is to make friends with who you can relate to. So initially it was all about like more about finding people from Bangalore. I was even fortunate to like meet two friends with whom I'm studied before in Fiji. So those were my initial friends. But then when you start expanding like your friend base, you come across a lot of people, right?
Exactly.
And the people that were in quite a number in Hyderabad, because BITS is like a national college and not like a Hyderabad based college. So I met so many people from like Delhi and like northern areas of India. So what they found weird about me was me having this Bangalore accent, and I wasn't sure this term was there. But then um, it was a thing that these North Indian people told me that, hey, you have a Bangalore accent, and why are you always speaking in English? And I'm like, because people in Bangalore speak in English. But then, yeah, so eventually, even I had to, speak more of in Hindi um, in my college as well. So moving on, so
You know
I mean,
what's
I
where,
think it's
interesting
kind of,
there?
yeah,
yeah,
it's kind of weird that they call us having a Bangalore accent when they have a
absolutely.
North Indian, or we think that they have North Indian
No,
accent,
I didn't
And
think they had a
it's
North Indian
interesting that
accent.
you yeah, no, it's interesting how you think, Like it's the same with me, but when you said find relatable people, you meant people from Bangalore, and obviously you're Gujarati, but you grew up in Bangalore. It's the same
Yeah.
thing with me. When people ask me here, where you're from, I say India, obviously, and
Mm.
then some people are curious enough to ask where from in India, and
Absolutely, because
I
India is
I
so
mean,
diverse, right? Like even though
right,
you call
exactly.
yourself an
Yeah.
Indian, I mean, there's one guy who thinks you shouldn't speak in English, but then you've spoken English through your whole childhood. So yeah, it's a big diverse country.
And the thing is, at least for me, I my family's from Kerala. I was born in Kerala, but I grew up in Bangalore, and when people ask me where I'm from, I say Bangalore just because that's where my home is. And
Hmm.
but I just find it interesting that all of us, we're all from, like, if you look at the friends we had in school, everyone's from different places. But you know if you ask, if they leave Bangalore and you ask them where they're from, everyone's just going to say Bangalore.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is true.
All right. Yeah. So we'll move on to the next part, which Nikhil said. Starting part was a little tough, right? Like you got to maintain your schedule since the time you wake up. So how was the shift from like completely being dependent on your parents to being independent right now? Starting with you, Rashmi.
So that was kind of a very big shift because especially like, when I went into dorms, living in the dorms, usually in India, they take care of your food that's in the mass canteen and stuff like that. And then, or even the laundry is quite taken care of, you don't have to do much of your laundry and stuff like that. But then here, I expected it'll be the same thing. But then when I researched more about the dorms abroad, I found out that, you have to cook on your own. You have to like do your own laundry and do everything. Basically, they just give you an accommodation. That's it. They give you a bed to sleep in, and they give you other facilities. But
When
anything
you
else that you have
say
to.
do your own laundry, do you actually do it by hand or you have a
No, no,
washing
no. We
machine?
have like a washing machine, but
Oh
then
my
we don't
god,
have a
that must
dryer.
have been such
We
a
do.
hard.
We don't have a dryer. You had the luxury of a dryer. We
Okay.
had to physically take the clothes and put it outside.
Yeah, yeah. So let me talk about my experience. So I mean, like I had a hostel. I don't have like what you guys say doing. I don't do laundry like you guys, but then there's a laundry shop, so I give most of my clothes there. But then other things like your private clothes and all, obviously you have to wash them by yourself. And for that, I didn't have any washing machine or anything.
Yeah,
So yeah, continue.
makes sense. So that's like one of the biggest things I feel like I had to get used to because back home I barely entered the kitchen. Like my mom never let me cook in the kitchen, or like even I didn't even know which powder goes where in the washing machine. I had to figure that out. That was like a biggest thing, like where you put the washing machine powder, where you put the comfort, and where you put the other stuff in the washing machine. That was kind of hard to figure out, and what setting
Did
to
you
put the
try reading
washing
the
machine.
labels?
Yes, I
It
did.
usually
Sadly,
says.
the washing machine did not have that, which were given to us in the dorms. So yeah, it was just three holes, one small one and one big one and another small one.
Okay, interesting. I can't relate to this, but okay.
Yeah, that was like that's one of the weird stuff. And then we had like this very old electric stove, which is like a oven plate, and it took 100 years to get hot. So then even making rice was like a biggest headache because it took like half an hour just for the rice to boil, and then you have to keep stirring the pot in the rice, or even if you're putting it in the cooker. And one thing is that I had like international roommates in my dorms, and they didn't know what a cooker was. So like when the whistle went off, they started like trying to scream, asking what happened in the apartment. And
Yeah,
then I said, no, it was just a cooker, like they're like, what is this? Is it like a rice cooker? I said, no, you can use it for other stuff as well, not just
yeah,
rice. And
yeah.
they
Cooker
thought,
is like an Indian thing. Isn't it
yeah,
called boiler or something abroad?
I think they have like an Instapot cooker or something like that, right? I don't think they have like a
I don't know.
whistle blowing cooker.
Probably. So yeah,
So
continue.
then that was quite, so we Indians had a good laugh with that. So yeah, we had like I had to cook. Cleaning was thankfully taken care of. Like didn't have to do the cleaning of the dorms and stuff like that. That was one luxury that I could live with, I guess. And yeah, but most of all, instead of like managing your food and your like schedule, your timetable and stuff, it was like about managing money. Because when you're back home, like your parents give you the amount of money that you want to spend. It's not like you have your own money to spend, you know. So but now they're giving you like probably a big amount of money, and you have to budget, you have to like see what to spend, what not to spend, and stuff like that. So that was like one of the biggest challenges, I said. And as Nikhil said before, you know, you get that freedom in your hand. It's not like your parents are looking over you and controlling what you're doing and what you're not doing. So you have the money in your hand and you can do whatever you want, but then in the end of the day you have to think if it's good for you or not good for you, if it's right or wrong. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So Nikhil, what was your experience like being starting to being independent?
I think the best way to put it would be, um, it's like it taught me a lot about, you know, growing up. I think just because when everything is, handed to you in a platter, you don't really think about how things get there. But when you have to do things on your own, you have a bigger visibility of, how things work.
Yeah,
Like for
that's a
example,
great way of putting it. Yeah.
yeah, and for me at least, yeah, obviously my parents were paying for my education, but I know how much they're paying, right?
Yeah.
So it brings into picture, the sort of efforts that are going in to, my education. And so that while I did get the freedom, this fact also helped me, keep things under control.
That's true.
And for the first year, at least for me, I didn't really have much to worry about because I was living in the dorms. I had a meal plan, so we just had a dining hall where we got food from. um, I had to I mean, I guess, I didn't really think this was a big deal, but I guess it is for some people. I had to do my own laundry. uh, Obviously it's just putting stuff in and taking stuff out.
And putting it
It's
in
not
the
a
right containers, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and putting the right stuff in the right holes, but
Correct.
yeah. So it's just it once you get used to the routine, it just becomes part of your daily life. The harder part for me was scheduling my classes, because I for one cannot get myself to wake up early in the morning. So
Those 8:30 classes be hitting hard.
I had 8 a.m.s. So it's just for me at least. The thing was, at least, in the US, this is something that's really different from Indian colleges. It's more like the actual courses are planned out in a way that if you want a particular degree, like, in my case it was computer engineering, you have to finish these courses, and
Hmm.
you can choose to do it whatever way you want. Obviously there are prerequisites and sort of pathways you need to follow, but more or less you have a few degrees of freedom. And what that meant was, if you can put in the effort, you can take a few more classes per quarter,
Hmm.
and actually make it out early. So when I saw the the sort of amounts that we had to give to be for the privilege of being in that college, I thought it might be a good idea to put in that extra effort and try to graduate early, which meant it gave me a little less freedom when I'm choosing my classes. So I didn't have the luxury of skipping the 8 a.m.s and uh, choosing like classes after the afternoon. But it was good because in the few quarters that I did have, or I didn't have to wake up early, I found my productivity go down just because you know
Classes weren't there.
yeah, right. And it's
You
just
know,
once you don't wake up early, it's hard to sort of catch the
Yeah.
momentum of productivity.
Hmm.
it's quite weird. Like when we used to be in school, we used to wake up at 6 a.m. every day, like 6:30 every day. And now it's so hard to wake up at even 8, you know. For 8 o'clock classes, it's quite hard to wake up 1 hour early in advance and then like get ready and go. I never thought I would be having a problem with waking up in the morning. Yeah, that was also one of the biggest things facing as an adult, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. So to talk about myself, I've definitely cherished the freedom that I've got because of living away from home. Like, I mean, not on the same scale as you guys, because I still like I still go to a mess to eat my food, and I still give my laundry to the laundry shop and things like that. but like the other sorts of freedom, like freedom, let's say freedom of taking classes. So that was a good thing for me in many ways. Like I could plan my classes in such a way that, let's say that I want to be free by 3 p.m. So then I would, stack up my classes from 8 to 12, and then go have lunch, then maybe have one or two labs or something, and then be free by 5 p.m. and then like go to the gym or play a guitar or things like that. And then I like sometimes when you just don't feel like attending a class, you just don't go and you can do other things. So that was another freedom that I definitely cherish. And yeah, it's just there's so much time that you have that you can spend on, like I remember on odd days I used to even go to gym at like 6 a.m. in the morning and things like that, things that you guys are probably finding hard to imagine, going to the gym at 6 a.m. um
Gym,
yeah.
what do you mean gym? We can't even attend classes at 6 a.m.
What?
We can't attend classes waking up at 6 a.m. I don't forget about gym. That's what I
Yeah,
meant.
yeah. So I there were some days where I would, go to class, go to gym at 6 a.m., take a bath, and then go to classes at 8 a.m. So those were some of the days where I felt extremely productive. Yeah. So we'll end this conversation by asking the last question, which is, how has this overall experience shaped you as a person, Rashmi?
So, as a person, I feel like I've learned much more, on how to handle my money as well as, have how to manage my time, as although I'm not really good at it right now, even though it's been 4 years since I've moved abroad, still time management is kind of a big hurdle. And but still, like, it's allowed me to learn a lot of life skills that I never thought I needed in my life. Moving after the dorms, I took a house on my own and I started staying alone. Then I realized, maintenance is not just done by one person. I mean, not it's not taken care of. You have to do it by yourself. So if something breaks in the house, you have to either do it by yourself or call a handyman and pay double the amount that you would end up paying if you do it by yourself. So then, yeah, I took up a lot of useful handy skills as to changing a lot of stuff, repairs, plumbing work here and there, and also taking the responsibility of trying to find a new house, and look for
Hold on,
places.
you did plumbing work?
Yes, I did,
Oh,
unfortunately.
nice. Okay, that's a
Mm,
that's a good sort of area of growth.
Yeah, you can
yes,
probably add that to your resume.
to a CV, yeah, it's a very good handy skill to have. They'll hire me for a next plumbing job.
Yeah.
Standout candidate.
What did you learn from going to the plumbing? Nice,
Yeah,
nice
so continue.
experience. So yeah, that was one of the biggest, I think, life skills, and cooking as well. Like, but picked up a lot from cooking. Realized I actually like cooking, and then feeding. There's no other option. Like you have to either like feed yourself or like spend money to feed yourself. So and it's you realize you become double the size when you spend the money to feed yourself. You have to cook on your own, as Nikhil will so nicely put it. I've gained weight, so has he. It's like, yeah, kettle calling the pot black, but okay. So then, yeah, that was cooking was also one of the biggest handy skills that I've taken up. Being responsible, again, Nikhil will again
Yeah.
say that is
Yeah. So
quite
Nikhil,
a
what would you say here?
being responsible. How's it
Yeah. How has
impacted you,
that helped
Nikhil?
you?
No, his version of being responsible is having the freedom to drink as many sodas as he can every day, frozen pizzas every day in the microwave, frozen palak paneer.
Yeah, I mean, uh, as long as I'm getting my hunger is being satisfied, I don't really care. But more to what you were saying, Pallav, and let's just sort of move on past that.
Yeah.
Um, I think it it helped it helped my life a lot. Just being sort of forced into independence. Um,
Hmm.
a lot of times, in life, when you want to learn something new, you have to sort of dive right into the deep end, and
Hmm.
that's sort of what happened with me. And just the the circumstances of being in college abroad, away from most of the people,
Hmm.
and having to deal with stuff like your visa, flying back home, taxes, working on campus, it's just all of that stuff. This makes you realize um there's like, it doesn't give you the sort of free time to just um
Do whatever you
waste
want.
it, essentially. Yeah, right. And
Hmm.
it it helped a lot, because I feel like one of the things with Indian families is the growing up part is delayed, right? We see it with our
Yeah.
friends too, where there's Indian parents tend to uh, you know have these restrictions a lot longer than other families. And it helped a lot with me, because it helped my family see that I'm capable of making good decisions, and keep my future in mind. Which meant that they were a lot more open and free with me, when I go home, or even making my decisions here. They don't question it at all, because they know, they at least they've realized that um, you know some things you just have to leave it.
Let it
Yeah.
go.
Yep, exactly. And that was a huge life changing thing for me, because I'm sure both of you can relate, where every time
True.
it's a big decisions, your tendency is first to call your parents and ask what to do here. It's not really an option for me, because most of the time when I'm making these decisions, it's daytime for me, and my parents are probably asleep. So you
Hmm.
have to, it's all up to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that just may helps you grow as a person.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's
So
not like you can
anything?
just, if anything happens in the end of the day, like if you get into an accident or if something happens, bad happens to you, not just pick up the phone and call them and say, you can tell them that it happened, but in the end of the day, you have to solve the problem. It's not like
Yeah.
have any help to solve the problem. So I think
Yeah,
that
and
teaches you a lot.
the sort of challenges you face, it just makes you realize, you know, the different sort of complications of, like, for example, when I was going home, um, I actually visited my parents when they were in London, and when I was going home, I lost my passport. And it's just when that happens, yes, they were there, but I because I had the sort of experience living on my own, I didn't want help anymore, right? I told them what happened, obviously, but I wanted to, you have
Sort it
that sort
out.
of feel. Yeah, exactly, you want do it on your own, right? So at first it might be hard and challenging, but then it sort of changed into, yes, I want to
I
be an
can do it.
independent
Yeah.
person,
Hmm.
and I want to do stuff on my own. So
Hmm.
whenever these things happen, you're now prepared to face them head on.
Yeah.
Hmm.
The same thing happened to me as well. Like when I went to Bali and then I had like a 10-hour layover in Bangkok and I lost my phone in Bali on the flight on the way to Bangkok. So I was alone without a phone for 10 hours in like an airport that I did not know anything about. So I had to find my way to try to like, there was no one who had even WhatsApp over there. They used WeChat and or Facebook Messenger. I mean, that also very rarely. They had their own line and WeChat, and none of my family was on line and WeChat. And every time I asked a person in the airport, can I use the phone? They said that they only have line and WeChat. And so somehow I said, okay, let me get a hold of some foreign white looking guy just walking by so that at least maybe he will have WhatsApp. So, yeah. But thankfully, yeah, I did. Like I found someone who actually had WhatsApp and he was white and messaged my parents and said that I lost my phone. But that was a very like, difficult experience, as you can say, because you're stranded on an airport for 10 hours without like any form of communication, letting your parents or anyone know that you're okay. And that's the first thing that you do, update your whoever your close family as to what happened when you land. Yeah, that was again experience that I'll never forget.
Yeah. Absolutely. So do you guys have anything else to add here?
I think what about your Nikhil? How was your first work experience like in the US? As an internship or like a normal work? Because I've heard like a lot of people when they go to the US they start off as with working at the grocery store, stocking shelves and stuff like that. Was it the same thing for you?
Oh, you mean like a part-time job? So did
Hmm.
you do any part-time job?
Yeah, so I don't know where you heard that from, Rashmi, because the US student visa doesn't allow you to work outside of your area of study.
College. Uh,
So, unless you're getting a degree in groceries, you can't really stock shelves.
but
So,
I think you worked as a TA or RA, right? Which comes under.
not quite. So the thing is, with my college, they don't let undergrads be TAs exactly. We can
Hmm.
be what they call tutors. Essentially, what we do is assist the TAs.
Hmm.
With sometimes with grading, sometimes with lab sessions where other students, our peers, have questions. And I think it's a good idea because it's one thing learning from a professor who's multiple levels higher than you, but
Yeah.
when you have these questions, sometimes your peers are much better off at trying to help you just because they've learned this material much closer to you, and b, they're a lot more relatable. So when you ask what you feel like is a stupid question, you feel a lot more open asking it to someone who you consider your equal rather than
Hmm.
someone like a professor, right?
Yeah.
So that was a good job because I was able to reinforce what I already knew, and I was
Hmm.
also able to help people with their material. And
Hmm.
I actually did that from the second quarter I was in college all the way till I graduated. That was a
Hmm.
good experience. I also had the chance to do an internship, um, which funnily enough, more than the internship, I think what I learned was about um, just the job market in general, and um, how hard it is, just putting yourself out there, applying to these internships, like hundreds and hundreds. It's just you lose track of how many you've applied to and not hearing back from literally anyone. It's like
Hmm.
you can count in your fingers how many number of responses you get. And once when I did finally get an internship, and I had to think of like how I commute. I had a my friends and we got a house. We rented a house near campus, so I was already committed to that. And this internship I got was about 35 miles, about like 50 kilometers away. So I had to think about commuting, and that's when I got a car. And that's another complication in itself, because you have to find out how you buy them, from where you'll get it, the transfer of ownership, titles.
Hmm.
It's just so these things, it starts off as a simple thing like getting a job or getting an internship, and in
But
the process you
you
sort of
learn so many
learn
things. Yeah.
life skills, right? Yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
And the thing about getting and jobs and working is you have to file taxes. And the US, unlike India, where it's like there's a cap until which you don't have to pay any taxes. The US, you
Hmm.
got to pay taxes on anything you earn. So
Hmm.
starting from scratch, filing the forms, knowing what to write in each column. And the thing is, in the US, they make it hard to do on your own, so that people are forced to go to these tax
Servicing
yeah, exactly,
options.
those services that help you out with it. So it was just, that's the thing. So it starts off with like something small, like a part-time job or an internship, and then you learn all these life skills along the way, which is extremely useful, I think.
Yeah. So Rashmi, do you have anything to add here?
Oh, no, like just yeah, I agree with exactly what he said. The working experience is completely transforms the way you think about even the job market. As in the first internship that you have, like a internship or a part-time job that you land, you're so happy because, as he said, you barely get any replies back. Because you're a foreign student first of all, and then they have to provide you, if they ever want to take you as a permanent, they have to provide you the visa, and they have to provide you with a lot of stuff. So that they would much rather take someone who's already
Who's
working
their
there, who already
citizen?
has the, yeah, who has a citizen, who has the visa. So, but here in Dubai, how it works is you don't get a citizenship, or you don't get to be part of this country unless you're an Emirati, you're born here in this country. So all you get is a residence visa, but you can sponsor other people. So whoever is studying here, the immigrants studying here, usually have their parents' visa sponsorship, under which they can work. So they companies prefer people who have their own sponsorship, who have their visa from their parents as well. So people coming from abroad, they can't get that sponsorship here unless you start working, like you have a work visa. And so yeah, the people prefer not to pay for their visa expenses, and yeah, so you barely get any responses in the first time. So getting your first internship is like a really big deal going abroad. And yeah, once you get that internship, I guess, or the part-time job, or it gets you it gives you a lot of life lessons as to not only seeing how the job market is, but also managing your time accordingly, because you're now living a life where you have to manage university plus an internship plus your house plus your basic needs all on your own. You have to take responsibility for everything. So it's quite
That's
challenging, but
sort of
yet,
what we have in common. We both get booted when it comes to applying for jobs and internships.
yeah,
That's
Hmm.
a universal thing. It looks like.
I guess so.
Yeah.
And even for now, applying for full-time jobs is like we both are struggling, and we both are sitting together and then looking at our CVs, looking at our bios, and seeing what we can change, what we can do differently, for us to get job opportunities. Even though we have, both of us, we worked so hard in order to get internships and part-time jobs beforehand while doing university itself, so that it gives us a one up when we go up to apply for permanent full-time jobs as well.
Hmm.
So yeah, I guess even then it's kind of a difficult situation in order to apply for jobs abroad.
I mean, then again, right now it's the COVID thing.
Again,
S-
yeah, and we graduated into a very wrong time as
Yeah,
well,
wrong
where the
time.
market is so low. There's
I'm
not
sure
many
it's relatable
opportunities.
to you too, Pallav.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, not, I mean, I haven't found my own opportunities, but I would say my college gets companies and then company selects us. So I think it's all about within the competition that I have among my college. Among that, I have to have a good resume to like get the job or internship, which I've recently got. So yeah, so I mean, I can't relate to finding your own job yet, but yeah, I'm sure it's on the way.
Yeah,
yeah,
so
that's
that's the
another
thing.
thing. Yeah,
Yep,
we
we
like
don't
in India,
have.
we don't have like placements and stuff, and that was a very
Yeah.
weird thing when I came here. I didn't realize that you had to actually go out there and get your job. Yeah, we do
Hmm.
have career fairs. We have like places where
That's where
there are,
people take our resumes and just throw it in the trash.
yeah, literally.
Hmm.
So it's like they come and they ask you about what you're doing, and then they ask you specifically what's your visa status. As soon as they hear your visa
Yeah,
status,
I've
they
heard
say
that
thank you
visa
very
status is
much.
like a very important criteria if you're getting a job or not. Like, it doesn't
Yeah,
matter if you're eligible or not, but like if the visa status is not right, then you get rejected or something like that.
Yeah, anyway.
Um, yeah. So, all right, then that was a good conversation. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.